So, I'm building the reciprocity platform. The E is written with a three, and so reciprocity.com. And, I've been doing this for several years now. I started building it actually in 2016. I had the sort of idea in 2015 and tried to put this thing together, and it didn't quite sort of work out as planned. It was impossible to sort of put this together. So I got contractors to help build this thing. So I have, contract developers that are building it. And, it's the interesting thing is I put a tremendous amount of time and a tremendous amount of effort in it. And you've seen how much effort, how much time, but there's so much more that's going on behind it in terms of developing and all those kind of things. And the interesting thing is still there's always problems. There's always something that you're like, oh gosh, we got to improve this. This is not quite there yet. There's this that needs to be fixed. Like there's always something. And I think viewing yourself as a problem solving entity where you're simply just solving one problem after the other, and you're just continuously doing that day in and day out. I think that's like a very healthy perspective rather than viewing yourself. I think the sort of entrepreneurship, um, culture or the celebritization of entrepreneurship at this moment is not necessarily a positive thing for a lot of people, although it's like encouraging for people to sort of see this. It's like basketball or football or anything like that, where people see it and it's encouraging them to enter. But you got to realize it's this long process of problem solving repeatedly and repeatedly until it starts working out, and it's going to take a decade or more of sort of sorting out wrinkles. And it's always about sorting out these wrinkles. There's always something that you're like, golly, like I thought we fixed this, and then there's something else, and then like there's always something, or you get it to the point of like, oh, okay, this works, but then there's a bottleneck that happens in some other location of what you're trying to do, and then you're trying to solve that, and so it's like this never-ending um, process of trying to make it work a little better, a little better, a little better. It's cool. I mean, I was using it yesterday for my own writing, and it works actually remarkably well. Although there's a lot of aspects of the platform that are still primitive that I'd like to improve and make better. Like there's a lot. And there's lots of sort of features that I want to build into this thing, and yet you have to do it one at a time. And it's not gonna, happen overnight when you're doing these kind of things. It's a long process, and you get it to the point where it's functioning pretty good, it's smooth, and then you jump up to the next thing. And I have to constantly keep reminding myself about this, that it's this long process of this and then this and then this, until it becomes a thing, and it's actually it's fun, but you have to know that it's part of the journey, and that these things you can't just go to. I think we sort of have this image of sort of entrepreneurship where you just go to this entrepreneur, just comes up with this amazing idea, sends it off to somebody else, and then it just gets done, and it comes back, and then all of a sudden you're making fortunes or whatever, right? Like that kind of perspective. And it's really not what happens. It's just this gradual build, um, day in and day out. And some people are fortunate enough where they get a ton of financing or whatnot to sort of speed these things up. But you got to realize when that happens, there is still um, a lot of sort of stress involved in terms of figuring out like how are we going to please the finance people, and making sure that this thing sort of works out, and all of those things are really tricky, and difficult to navigate, even though that you're sort of accelerating what you're doing. It's like putting gas on a fire, right? Like it just goes crazy. but then you can make just as big of mistakes, or if not bigger, because you poured gas on your fire. You could get burnt really bad, rather than looking at how you would build a survival fire, right? Like you would start off with a little tiny um, little ember, and grow it and grow it and grow it. And both are sufficient. But as you can tell, one of them is a lot more dangerous and risky than the other one, right? And you can sort of view it and those kind of things. And so knowing that it's this gradual build and that it's going to take some time, you just have to kind of get used to doing the day in and day out, because it doesn't necessarily change with what you are doing. And I wanted to sort of talk about that, and point out that when you're doing this, when you're doing anything that's innovative or entrepreneurial, it's just this long, slow slog of problem solving until it actually clicks. And you got to get used to it. And that's just part of the process. And I have to remind myself, and I have to remind you. You just got to get used to it. And that's part of the process. It's this long, slow grind, day in and day out, until it actually works. So, with that, that's all I wanted to talk about. Have a good day, and we will see you on the next podcast. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day.